I have no idea why my camera on my computer is not working again.
Or you just have the wide angle.
Yeah, it's all right. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But I reinstalled the driver. It says it's the right driver. There's no Microsoft update not in. I don't know. it, it comes and goes and frustrates me.
I'm sorry.
Frustrates me.
Yes. Yes.
Um, are you guys okay? You said last week you had medical issues.
Oh, it's a hearing aid
Oh,
that died, and the only slot they had to look at it, and as it turned out, it was just, they took it and sent it back.
oh,
But that's what that was about. Yes, you were fine. Yeah.
oh, good. Morning, Jeff.
Hey, good morning.
Hi,
Hey,
Jeff.
Bill.
Yes.
And
It's
and
me.
Moki is here
I
keeping us
can see
Yeah,
that.
entertained.
she's keeping me grounded,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
um, just so you know, Jeff, the camera on my computer for some reason has disappeared again. Um,
Okay.
but I have the other one, so I am here.
Yeah, I mean this view works for me. I could see you do everything, and I could see the whole space, so that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yep. It's. I'm I'm glad I have it.
We make do.
Yep, that's the way it is. Questions, reports?
Not really. I
Just
did look at the.
referring back to last week, I've been doing. I'm sorry, there was a delay. Were you talking, Bill? There was a delay. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Um, just referring back to last week, I've been doing a bit. Even if I take a little break from work, I may do a minute or two of what we talked about with extending and trying to feel the energy and involving my fingers and all that, trying to work on that. And yeah, I focused on a little bit this week was trying to round my corners, which as I think more about it, I realize how much I'm not doing it. So I'm making a little progress with that.
Good. Oh, I'm sorry. So you were starting to say.
But that was a long
Sorry
time
about that,
ago. I
Bill. There was
forgot
there was a
already.
break there.
Now.
Wait, um, more work actually probably on eight gates
Mm.
than on the form, but trying to focus on twisting.
Ah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, we'll see.
Yes, we will. um, okay. So, um, let's start with thinking about um, just doing a bit of that exercise to try to develop bending and extending, lengthening, getting the everything to function through to the fingers.
Yeah.
Did you watch
Yeah.
last? So
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Yes, I did watch.
yeah. Um, so the really it's not all that difficult an exercise. I'm going to just stand here where you can see my arms,
Yep.
and you can begin with just thinking about bending and extending, and bending in through the fingers, feeling that come in and then go out, and just really trying to open to feeling that part of the energy moving, coming in the yin surface and out the yang if you can. And so you're not doing a whole lot there physically, but you are activating the fingers and the hand. Everything in there is working. As I do this, I'm not just bending, but everything is coming in as if I were compressing the Laogong point. So it's all coming in and out.
Could you also mention again, you had mentioned last week about the slight bending of the wrist. Can you incorporate that again briefly,
So,
please?
well, that's where I'm going. So,
Okay.
hang on. So, when you begin to feel that you've really got that, and this is going back to separate and then combine. I mean, yes, you can feel things elsewhere, but in order to get it to move smoothly and strongly all the way through, you really need to work on this exercise or something similar. And just as the hand is closing and bending in a bit, then you get the wrist to bend slightly. And the bend of the wrist is very subtle. We're not doing this. It's just enough to get that energy to go through the wrist into the forearm and back out again. So you can feel that movement. And then when you feel like you've opened up the fingers, hand, and wrist, then you focus on the elbow and see if you can get the elbow to release. And let the energy move from the fingertips through the wrist, through the elbow into the upper arm. And then into the shoulder, through the scapula, into the spine, up and down the body. This is it's a very good basic exercise to practice that, but it takes practice. And I think one of the major things I started to say for you, Jeff, but really it's for all of us, is that if you're tensing up and using the muscles to do this, it doesn't work. If your focus is the muscles, that gets in the way. It's not that there isn't any muscular movement. There obviously is. At this stage, it's ridiculous to say that there wouldn't be any. But your mind intent changes that. It's what we talk about when we talk about in twisting. We start with turning. which is a muscular movement. And we have to learn, where do we want things to turn? So that's the first stage. We get turning. But then we go to twisting. And in twisting, we're not doing that muscular movement. We're using mind intent and getting the fascia to twist in and out. And it's happening all the way, again, it's happening in the fingers, it's happening in the wrist, it's happening in the forearms, the upper arm, the scapula, in your torso. And so it's, I'm not trying to make this impossible, but you have to let yourself get to a point where you recognize that the movements you want to make aren't just physical movements, but that you really are beginning to focus on your mind intent and the energy moving through. Does that help?
Yes, that definitely helps. And one of the indicators, or main indicator for me, when I'm doing it in sync and I'm doing it well, is I'm feeling a lot of heat quickly in my upper body. I'm sensing the energy movement, but even more so, I'm sensing the heat being created by the energy movement.
Good. So that's a good indicator for you.
Yeah, that's always been that way for me, because I can feel the heat pretty quickly, and when I'm start to do things better.
Yeah. And so that begins to address your question too about the twisting.
Yes. I mean, I don't practice enough. A. B. I don't practice enough. C. I don't practice enough. But I can when I am on my best game, I can feel it.
Yeah.
You were talking with Jeff last week about what you feel inside with expanding and contracting, and occasionally that happens. Usually when I'm not paying attention to it, deliberately, trying to do something, then all of a sudden there's that kind of thing inside everything.
Yeah.
So.
And it does come and go. I mean, your awareness of it comes and goes.
Yes. I'm usually surprised when it shows up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good. So, one of the things is, if there is an element of these things, and basically we can just stop with bend, stretch, twisting, and lengthening. If one of those is not happening, then you need to make sure that the others are completely comfortable and you're not having to think about doing it. Because until you can let go of thinking about it, you can't begin to develop the next one. And so it's really, if one of the elements is not working, then you need to focus on that element and not worry too much about the others until that one is really comfortable and really functioning. And then work on the next one. So that eventually, if any one of them is not present when you do something, that signals you that that something's wrong. I mean,
Mm.
you literally feel, um, oh, I'm I'm bending and stretching and I'm lengthening, but I'm not twisting. Why aren't I twisting? Actually, a little twisting is going on because it's really natural for me to do it, but it's very subtle there.
Mm.
Um, and one of the things is, of course, that um, initially the twisting is very small and very subtle, and it doesn't have to cause any huge physical movement. It can, it doesn't have to begin with. Eventually, you want it to be able to, or not, if that's not necessary. Um, in the Wu form, the twisting is not. It's present, but it's not always visually strong. It's very subtle and internal. So um, I don't know that it's not anything new. I mean,
No.
that's, and our problem is we want to jump to the end. We want it all to be there now, and we are reluctant to admit that we don't have it all and we need to work on one thing at a time.
Mm.
Um, and and gradually you put it together. I mean, it's I'm I went through all of these struggles too. I'm not you know I'm not saying that all of this came easily to me. It didn't. It took me a long time.
Right. And, David, you also say it's nothing new, but just like anything else, you never retain everything the first time you hear it or the second time. Each time you hear it, you retain more. Plus, we will have practiced it more and it starts to make more sense based on our own experience with it. So,
Yep.
you can repeat these things 40 times over the next couple of years, a
Yep.
little bit more, and it helps a little bit more. So,
Yep. That's absolutely true. So, other specific questions at the moment? Okay. So, I'm gonna I'm gonna ask you guys to do the 8 gates, and probably do it twice. I'll focus on one of you, and then the first time, and then I'll focus on the other one.
okay.
Um, because um, I can't fully absorb what both of you are doing, particularly when I have to
Yeah,
look at
yeah.
computer and
Yeah.
Right.
space. So um,
Okay.
let's do that.
Okay. Can't hurt.
What?
It can't hurt.
No, no. Put on your glasses, David. So, Jeff, one thing, it looked to me as if when you stepped out that you didn't rotate into that movement. So it looked like it was just a step out. In both Qian Heaven and Kun Earth, it looked like you were bending your wrist really, and that can be very subtle. It doesn't. You don't have to bend the wrist in. That you can let that bending be very, very small, very small.
Okay.
All the way through. Remember that only when you come to the middle Dantian do you come into the center. All the rest of the time, your basic alignment is that the Lao Gong point is lining up with your sidelines from shoulder's nest to Kwa. So when you go from doesn't really matter. When you go from Kun Earth to water, to Kan water, you are coming in towards the body and then out into that into that position, but not into the center and then out. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I must have been doing that more than I realized.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look at that again. Yeah. Okay.
And the movement of Kan, by the way, is this circle. This circle. It doesn't have any movement, particularly this way, in the hands. In the elbows, yes. But when you go to Kan, this movement is right along the sidelines. You want to feel the energy go up from your quad to your shoulder's nest and back down to your Kwa. So it's right along those sidelines. And from Kan to Lee Heart was another place where you came in more into the center. You're coming up the sidelines and out the sidelines. You're not going in.
Right. Okay. I'll have to focus on that some more. I didn't realize I was doing it as much as I was.
Yeah. I think that this movement was pretty good. It is as much as you can. It's a circle like this. So it's a kind of flat circle, but there is an in and out movement of the elbows at the same time. So this is it. It is bending in and extending out. So there and so you're really thinking about the circle being like that.
Okay. How are you connecting with the side channels when you're doing that one?
This one, actually, you are thinking more of, not so much about the don't get stuck on the side channels. Yes, I was emphasizing them a lot. However,
right.
here you're working with the etheric body. So you're working with all the energy out here, um, and and um, its effect inside. I mean, that's of course what we're trying to do all the time. Um,
Right.
but yeah, don't get um, you.
Okay.
This is connecting also to the side channel. It's connecting to everything. Um, it's I mean, it's connecting from the feet up to the crown of the head and back down to the feet. And it is connecting to the side channels as it does that. And it's also connecting to the macrocosmic circuit and the microcosmic circuit. Um, you know, you could make the focus um, really whatever you'd like it to be. So I didn't mean to indicate that it was not connecting to the side channels, but this particular one, we've begun to really feel what's happening. How can we feel the extent of our etheric body? That's
Okay.
always an issue, because you can do all of this, you are doing all of this in the etheric body.
Right.
But here it's that's more the focus than it is in the earlier postures.
Okay. I mean, that generally speaking, that's the feeling I was getting. I was having trouble more so feeling like I was connecting to the side channels, and I was really kind of wondering what the focus of that particular posture was.
No, it's more out.
So,
This one looked good. Um, this one again, you're working with you're working with everything, but you're working with the etheric body
right.
again, of course.
Right.
Uh, and and again, you're trying to think about this diagonal line going out here to the corners. So the circle is along that diagonal line. Um, Along with everything else, and then in and make that connection with the wrists. Feel, if you get those wrist points to connect, you'll get a zing in the Lao Gong point.
Yeah.
Both of them. And then the extension. And this is another place, and there were probably a couple of others where keep working on rounding every corner. So this is not boom, boom.
Okay.
You have to find, you get to hear, how do I round that? And it's very
Right.
slight.
Yeah.
I'm letting it come in a little bit and then go out.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
then these circles are, again, even though we've made that connection to the center, and that's our
Yeah.
focus. So when we look at what's happening to the individual energy centers or organs, yeah, that we are focusing to a point that's in the center of the body. Not there,
Right.
even here. Um, but the movement is here. It's not, you're just making that circle here, bloom, and not letting it drift into the center.
Right. Okay.
Um, and then when you close, let yourself round that corner down and out and up, which leads you right into the cross of the wrist.
Okay.
and down and separate.
So when you cross your wrists, you said you get a little zing in the lagong point, right?
Yes,
Is
yes,
that on both hands? Do you feel that?
yes.
Because I tend to feel that only on the one on the outer hand. I don't really feel as much on the inner one.
So, um, what I don't know. What I would say is that that sounds like you're not really connecting the wrists,
Okay.
because if you if you really connect both wrists,
Right.
so you have to find where is that. Remember, where are those points? There's one on each side. They're immediately opposite each other, and they're
Right.
your three finger widths above the wrist crease is where that is.
Right.
and there's a point on each side. So when you cross the wrist where the whichever place you go to,
Right.
if you make that connection, you've connected four energy points together. And yes, I can feel it in both hands.
Okay. All right.
Nothing to it. Do you have other questions?
No, I definitely need to maintain my awareness of crossing too much into the center because I wasn't aware that I was doing it as much as I am. I know that we're not supposed to, but I didn't know that I was doing it that much.
Yeah.
So I definitely need to remain more aware of that. I think there are times when I do it better than others, and this was definitely not one of them. So I will focus on that some more, along with the rounding and the other things.
Okay. Good.
All right, thank you.
So actually, you're lucky you get to practice that.
Yeah. Yep.
I just thought of a question. I think when last week or the previous week, as you right at the beginning, did you come up like that with the wrists crossed?
No.
I've always been doing it.
So you're coming. So since we've stopped, I'll preface the answer to your question. When you go to step out, your arms don't swing over here. That's what you did.
Okay.
They both went this way. If you notice, mine stay on the side. Yes, there is a response. My arms are bending and twisting and they're lengthening in. That's all happening there.
Okay.
And then I'm coming into the center, and I liked your standing was a good thing. And then when you begin, they'll go clear into center, but they connect with the side channels and they
Okay.
come up.
Okay, it may have been the camera angle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And there is a real tendency when you come up to here to come into the center
Mm.
with this, because your focus, if you're thinking about the energy point, it's right in the center. It's in the middle of your forehead.
Yeah.
But we're we have to be aware that our hands, the lagong points, can affect the channels wherever they are in the head. And it's true. They come up to the shoulder's nest, and they come in and they go up the center of the head. They're not the central left and right channels are in the middle of the head. They're not out by your ears,
Right.
somewhere. So yes, when you come up here, but aware that you don't have to be here
Mm.
to
In order to
focus
activate
on
it,
that.
Yeah.
Because it works just fine from there. Yeah,
Okay.
probably more than you wanted to hear there. so in several of these, I felt like bending and stretching was there, but the circularity was not.
Okay.
And basically, we in all of these movements there is some kind of circularity in the since we're doing pulsing, and that's in the twisting too. But this movement, what was happening was that you tend to get the elbows. I have to say, you've really got the elbows involved all the way through, and I think your scapula are probably moving pretty well. But a lot of the circularity got lost in the process. Also for you too, Jeff, when you do the transition to Kun Earth, round the corner and bend in and extend out, and then into the circular movement. And again, there's this circle here. When you I would say the most difficult part for you really is the transitions, because I felt like you got to this one and you sort of went in, out. And after you've done this, you actually are doing somewhat the same movement, but you're gonna round the whole thing into here. So again, it's a circular movement, so you don't create a corner there. And then here. This was better. I felt like going from here to here. You weren't quite sure what to do there. And again, as you do this, you get to here, and then it comes in, and it's coming towards the body, and then out. So there's no corner, and then this circular movement, which we've talked about that.
Yeah.
And then again coming up to here, it's a curve up into that. Boom, 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 boom. Going from lung to spleen. I don't have all the words today. Again, when you complete this, you round it and it comes in towards the center, towards the body, and then out, so that there's a curve in that. Yeah. So.
I think I'm so focused on keeping hands out here that they often, I guess, started in one direction and as you pointed out. But I mean, I understand the feeling of the circle. So you just need to do it.
Yeah. And then with this one, it comes in and out. And so you want to be out to begin this, so you can bring it in and out.
Yeah, I think just recently the whole focus has been on getting my hands away from my body and on. So, and that inhibits the
Yeah.
the pulling in, so
Yeah.
I need to get that back in play.
There's a lot
Yeah.
in these simple movements.
David,
Yeah.
when we are what you just showed, when we are going into fire, right? Do we actually, in the transition into that, do we cross our arms?
Into fire.
Lee, fire,
Oh, heart. You
heart.
mean? No, we do not.
Okay, I thought you just crossed your arms into the transition. Maybe I was missing something or didn't see it right.
No, no. When you've done this one,
Right,
you're coming in towards the body, but you're
right.
staying on the sidelines so you
Yeah.
can come out. Yeah.
And that's what I do. I just, maybe it was the angle or it looked like you crossed. So I didn't know if I was doing it incorrectly or not.
No,
Okay, good.
I mean I'm not perfect. Um, so
And we are even less so. So that's why I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing.
yeah. So other questions in there?
No, that was really a lot of helpful stuff though.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I like to be helpful.
Yes.
And what? No, get out of here. What time is it? Good heavens. Okay, we still got time. So, questions in the forum?
Not anything specific right now.
Okay. So, since we're talking about those sidelines, one of the things to think about is that when you go into grasping sparrow's tail, going right at the beginning of the form, um, the these are on the sideline, and you're yes, you have a twisting in and a twisting out, but it's all on the sidelines. And then you've got the twisting out and twisting in rollback, and then in on, you're still on the sidelines, twisting in and twisting out. So that whole movement is lined up with the sideline of the body.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think at the end I managed to keep it on the sideline, but my bung is I bring them together.
Yeah, the tendency is to come in here somewhere, but
Yeah,
and it being Taiji, yeah, there is an in and out
mm-hmm.
to it, but we're not coming into the center and then out
Yeah,
past the sidelines. It's really basically coming into the sidelines and maybe slightly less, slightly more, and then out. But now you're really on the sidelines.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So one of the things to think about is, even though we're trying to take the attention away from being focused on the hands, but where are the arms and hands in relation to the torso? Where do they? How do they connect?
Hmm.
And in this form in particular, remember we've talked many times about the fact that neither hand crosses the center line of the body. It might come to the center line, but it never crosses the center line. This is not 100% true in the Yang style, but it is here. And since we are trying to move energy, eventually not just to feel it move, but be able to direct its movement, all these alignments are pretty important for that. That's why you're trying to find that.
Hmm.
But every posture is different. So, as you know, when after you've done those, and then you go into single whip, you're still on the sidelines. You're still on the sidelines. You're still on the sideline, and now you're expanding that a little bit towards the corners. But it's not a lot. So you guys have been working on this long enough to begin to think about the subtlety of the movement too. That this is not the yang style, where the movements would be much bigger. You would be, everything would be much bigger in the yang style.
Right.
Here they're more subtle. So letting yourself be aware of just that's the direction, aware that that's a direction you want to move toward. I'm not asking you to, you don't have to make your movements smaller, but allow them to become more subtle as you go along, as you continue to practice. And so thinking about the alignment of your arms with the body. Yes.
I do. Since I first learned this, the long form, the Wu long form, many years ago with you, I've always, at the same time, I was doing the yang form as well, the long form, long yang form, and I used to like practicing both because I practiced them differently.
Yep.
And I enjoyed both. So I've always thought of this one in the terms that you say. However, I also recently I've been thinking more about not crossing the center line and all, but I've not been thinking in terms of what you just mentioned, which is what we're thinking about with the 8 gates in connecting to those side channels while doing it. That I have not been doing.
Yep.
So that's kind of a new aspect for me to think about and consider in this.
Yep.
And that, that naturally forces, I shouldn't say force, but is helped by keeping the movement smaller, because in my mind, the closer I do stay to the side channels, the more of a connection I will have instead of doing it out here.
Yep.
So that will be more conducive to it. So that's actually something very new for me to start thinking about now, is keeping the actual connection to it, not just not crossing the center,
Right.
which I guess is the first step in that. So.
Good.
So that's all. That's what was on my mind right now.
No, that's a good thinking. I'm glad you're thinking that.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys flow?
Okay.
what you're going to say about that.
So I think the things that we were talking about that um, really important for you to focus on it is that not crossing the center line of the body.
Not causing, I'm sorry.
Crossing the center
Oh,
line of the
okay.
body.
Darn.
So, because it was happening several places. um, and so there are some places where it's really really easy for it to happen. I understand, but for instance, when you went into shoulder, you could see the hands.
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah.
both crossed the center line of the body instead of coming just to the center line.
Okay, yes, that's been, I've been implanting that, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
I can, yeah,
So the thing is, I mean, rather than go through and point out all the places,
yeah.
as you're doing it, just really think about that in one of your practices. Make that a focus of what you're trying to be aware of. For instance, you, this side was pretty good in wave hands, but you got over here, and instead of just being satisfied with being in the center, you were over here.
Okay.
It's only here. So on the side where we step, it goes out here because you created a posture that allows you to do that.
Okay, yeah.
But when you go to the other side, it's only there.
Yep.
Gargoyles, just being aware that gargoyles has 2 rotations. So you go back and you rotate left and then right, and you're shifting all the way back in this to 100% so that you could kick.
Okay.
Okay? And then you're rotating right and then left, and you're 100% back. Kick.
Yeah.
That didn't seem to be happening.
No, I mean, it didn't happen because when I went to the next posture, I had nowhere to go, so.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you get back to here, because this one, you're just going right into that kick.
Yeah.
Kick. I mean, it's in and kick, boom. Yeah. So really being aware of that crossing the center line, I think, is in this form particularly, that's a really important thing to watch. Jeff, I have to say I didn't see much of you. I was watching Bill.
That's fine. I got a perfect lesson, but I do have one question.
Yeah.
When we're talking about wave hands,
Yeah.
and as you were just talking about, you were talking about being at the either end of wave hands and how they are a little bit different.
Yep.
But when we are at either far side, at the farthest point on either side, are the hands actually directly like on top of each other, or are they a little bit askew like that?
Pretty much on top of each other.
Because that, I mean, if they're on top of each other, that kind of requires that they both be on the center line at that point, right?
Yeah. That's correct.
Okay.
On,
Okay.
not across.
Right, and that's why I'm asking, because you got to be pretty careful not to cross that one point, and if you do have them directly on top of each other, you have to be at that center point.
Right.
So it's and I just didn't know if it was like that on both sides or not.
It is, but you're not rotating as far on the right as you are on the left.
Right, that part I got. I wasn't sure if as a result of that, if the hands also didn't really go all the way to top and bottom either.
They go all the way to top and bottom and into the center of your body, but
Right,
not
okay.
but not beyond.
Okay. All right, that clarifies it. Thanks.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I'm just realizing that I am so far out that my weight is
Yeah,
pulling my body over. Yeah,
yeah.
so
So,
not that. Yeah.
well, that's a good awareness. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and so, um, so that that sense of not crossing the center line and um, noticing where you're connecting to the side channels and um,
Right,
good things to focus on.
right. Yep.
So
Okay.
seems to me I've probably beaten you up enough.
Yeah, it's so bad I have to run upstairs to the bathroom.
Okay, run.
All right. Well, I'm good. Thank you.
Well, I hope your new internet comes soon.
I hope so. All of the, it seems like all of the installation stuff on a large scale is done. They have not yet, I don't, all the street work is done and it was pretty extensive.
Yeah.
It took them a month to do everything because it's a pretty big complex that we live in. They have
Uh-huh.
not done individual line from the street to our house yet. I don't know if they wait to do that until we actually order it so that they don't do it for everybody and waste their time and energy. But I haven't gotten any flyers or any sales calls or any emails or anything about it yet. So I imagine they're coming soon, and I really do want to change because I don't like this.
Yeah. I know you're disappearing every once in a while, at least verbally.
And even trying to move, it can be annoying, especially Kate's doing one thing on her phone, and I'm trying to watch a movie, or if Jesse happens to be, using his fire pad. It's not adequate at all, and it's also affected by the weather. If it's really bad weather, we lose connection because it's a satellite. So I'm very anxious to move on
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Well, good luck on that.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Good. Well,
Well, thank you.
you're welcome. Have a good week.
You too. See you next
Okay.
week. Okay. Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye.